Welcome everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our webinar that will focus on cloud, visibility that Flowmon provides into the cloud and different deployment scenarios. My name is Arthur Kane, I'll be your host today. And today I have Rostislav who will join us. Hello. Rostislav is our product manager for NPMD portfolio, and Lubos. Hi everyone. Product specialist that focuses on integrations and cloud in specific. Cool that we managed to solve the audio issue and before the webinar. Please do send us questions. It seems that from your feedback you already learned how to use the questions. We're open to discuss and everything you need, and we'll try to be flexible enough to maybe change the presentation depending on what you want to ask. All right, so to start off, thank you. To start off, let's maybe go through a few definitions so that we can all align and understand each other to some words that we'll be referring to. First, we'll be monitoring of SaaS applications. In this use case, we're talking about measuring connectivity, measuring bandwidth, measuring capacity between corporate side and third-party cloud-hosted applications. So those could be Microsoft 365 or Office 365, Salesforce, help me out guys, GSuite, Drive, Dropbox perhaps. And we're trying to look at performance of these applications. And we're trying to distinguish whether latency issues are caused by the third-party provider or the connectivity between the corporate side and the application. Second use case or definition is cloud visibility. So when we talk about cloud visibility, we'll be referring to a model where we can actually see the traffic inside of public or private cloud. So when you deploy your applications into Amazon AWS and you want to monitor the traffic between the servers and virtual appliances inside of your AWS, this is what we call cloud visibility. And the third use case is cloud delivery. And by cloud delivery, we mean deploying Flowmon to the cloud, not necessarily monitoring it, but providing the processing and storage for Flowmon collector in the cloud itself, whether the data comes from the same cloud environment or from some data center or on-premise. Or both of them. Or both of them at the same time. Right, so that's to start off. I think, Rostislav, the word is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Artur, for the introduction. So we will start with the last topic with the cloud delivery, which is a good way to start, I guess. So before we go into details, as you mentioned, for us, the cloud delivery means that we are able to support the major cloud platforms by providing a native virtual image for these environments. But before we talk about the individual platforms, let's take a look on the scenarios first that we want to support and that we are able to cover. So first of all, something that we've described as cloud delivery for on-premise monitoring. We do now support the ability or the possibility to deploy Flowmon collector into the cloud, and it can serve for monitoring of local network traffic. So it's basically a different type of deployment when you replace your current virtualization infrastructure with basically cloud, either AWS, Azure, or whatever. But you still want to, you still have something in your network, some servers that you want to monitor, and it's basically just a change in the deployment from local virtualization to cloud. Mm-hmm. Second scenario is really cloud delivery for cloud monitoring. When you have transferred completely to the cloud infrastructure, you have your application, as you mentioned, Salesforce, Office 365, and so on and so forth. And you want to be able to monitor what is going on, how traffic is flowing between these applications, how it is flowing between these applications in your internal systems that you've deployed. So this is something that we are able to cover as well.
And maybe a question is, what type of customer would deploy this? I mean, what type of services do they want to monitor? Maybe Lubos, if you want to add or sort of open discussion.
I think this in this time, every type of customer who is considering transition to cloud needs to think about how to deploy stuff into cloud, how to see the traffic as they were used to see in previous scenario when they had their infrastructure on-prem. So I do not see some specific type of customers moving there. Definitely, we can see that larger companies, enterprises tend to solve the cloudification and transition to cloud earlier than others. Definitely, we can see differences in the regions where Europe is a step behind the US in deployments of cloud and the need of the cloud visibility. But still, I would say it's for, across the verticals. Customers across verticals need to deal with this. So,
all right, thank you. Yeah, sorry, Rusty.
Yes, no worries. Thanks. And yeah, Lubos, you will actually talk more about the details. How are we able to monitor the traffic in the cloud? So this will be mentioned in the next parts. Last but not least, the third scenario is probably the most common one. When you have some kind of like a combined environment, you still have something, some servers, maybe some infrastructure in your local network, and you are getting to the cloud. You have some combination of service on both locations, and in such case you are able to deploy Flowmon collector in the cloud or locally, normal usual way, and basically monitor both what is going on in your local network and what is going on in the cloud, and have a combined view on all these environments. And basically you are able to do the monitoring of your services in cloud, like such as Office 365 and so on.
Another question that we have is, well, whether there's a difference between the virtual appliance that we have for on-prem delivery and the cloud one, whether those are different softwares, or is it the same package?
Well, it's basically a virtual image that has been specifically updated and modified to be able to run natively in these environments. So it is coming out from our virtual images. And
the user interface, everything is the same, right?
Yeah,
which means you can simply transition from on-prem to cloud, keeping the the same usability. You can like download backup configuration and then restore it in the cloud again.
Maybe good abstraction should be the like standard virtual machines and the virtualization platforms, as we had a virtual image for VMware, Hyper-V, KVM, and the cloud images are, from our perspective, just another virtualization. So it's the very same package, but for different platform.
Right. Thank you, and thank you for the question.
Yeah. So this is probably a scenario that is most common and makes most sense for a lot of customers that are kind of thinking about transitions to cloud. So really the use case when you want to monitor what is going on between your local network and servers that you have in the cloud, or systems that you have in the cloud. So much for these scenarios. And now let's move to something completely different. When we were kind of evaluating where to start, how to begin with these native deployment options, we kind of thought how to start, and we decided to go and start working on this based on the market share. So here's the data that we came up with, and that we've decided to go based on the market share. So you can see that clearly at the moment, Amazon Web Services is the biggest leader in the enterprise public cloud adoption, and it's closely followed by Azure. Then with some lead, there is Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, VMware Cloud on AWS, and other. So we took this data and we kind of focused on the two most important platforms, meaning AWS and Azure.
Seems like if you want to be in top 3 wealthiest people in the world, you need to own some cloud.
And maybe one comment on this chart, that the statistics is obviously when you count the sums of each of them, it's more than 100. So that means that most of companies are using multiple platforms, and that's why there is over 100.
That's a good point. Yeah, they can use multiple platforms as a backup, or they are trying both to compare what would be better for them for their usage. So this is how we set up our priorities. And in the last couple of months, we basically introduced native applications, native images on both AWS Marketplace and Azure Marketplace. So what does it mean? This means that we've modified our images and went through the certification process in these cloud providers, and we are providing native images for these platforms that can be easily deployed by several clicks. You can deploy Flowmon Collector, create a virtual image with deployed Flowmon Collector, both on AWS and on Azure Marketplace. This is currently available publicly. There is no catch in this. So really, if you want to experiment with the cloud, and I hope you do, because otherwise we probably wouldn't be on this webinar, we really encourage you to test this based on your preference. Try to deploy it, try to play with it, and if possible, also send us feedback. So now this is probably everything from my side.
There was a question about licensing actually, and maybe we can take it through the process of when you deploy, what do you have to do in order to get it fully running? You mentioned downloading it from the marketplace, but then licensing is a different thing, right? Wants to answer that one?
Yeah, that's again, it's very similar to our virtual platforms. So you just approach our channel partner, you buy a license, and then you put the license to the graphical user interface of the collector deployed in cloud. So it's very similar process as in any other virtual appliance here.
Same pricing applies, same models apply, licensing policies.
Yeah, same services available.
You can go perpetual or subscription.
Yes.
All right.
That's the same.
Another question is, what's the hardware specs for these new images?
Well, it's the same as for the virtual images. So we have some recommendations. It of course depends how large traffic do you want to monitor, what additional modules do you want to deploy. But we have some defined recommendations that are available when you are creating the virtual machine directly from the store offer. So,
the installation process will guide you or tell you what are the recommendations.
Basically offers you the recommended virtual machine size with the recommended parameters. Of course, you can upgrade it to something better, more with more performance, more power. Of course, this means higher costs.
And to provide some rough figures, I mean, I believe that the basic virtual collector starts with like 8 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, right?
Yeah, something.
And you would take the same as what you see in our specs and just have it in cloud, right? And then it goes to like 16, 24, depending on the models.
It's pretty flexible, so you can really configure it as you want. You can experiment with it to get the best performance price ratio.
All right, thank you, and thank you again for the question. And this is your time now, Lubos, I believe.
Okay, so let's take a look at monitoring. Right now, Rostya introduced the machines deployment in the cloud. But what to do when we would like to monitor the cloud, when we would like to monitor the cloud environment? It's kind of tricky because the cloud environment is different to the typical on-prem. And The top issue is that there is no access to L2 network data. That means you are not able to put a tab. You are not able to easily mirror the traffic on the layer 2. So this is maybe just in general what options are available. Of course, if you already run some virtual appliance with flow export capability in cloud, you can use that and you can feed the collector with the flows. But in most cases, this is not the case. So you need to solve that. And let's take a look. What are the options? The first option is native mirroring. Unfortunately, it's only available yet for the Azure platform. That means that Azure, Microsoft Azure, allows to run like the feature called vTab, which is like virtual tab, which delivers the copy of the traffic on the monitor server. That means if you have 10 servers running in the Azure, you need to run on each of them virtual tab. You need to configure it to mirror the traffic and to send the traffic to the target, which is our collector's monitoring port. That's it. That is maybe we can just discuss on that. That each of our virtual collector has 2 monitoring ports. That means it has like built-in probe capability. And here in this use case, we leverage this capability because the customer has only collector deployed, but it can receive the raw traffic from the vTab, and the built-in probe is able to get this raw network data,
generate flow,
generate either IPFix or NetFlow, store it on the collector, and do the visualizations, reporting, alerting, and all the fun stuff behind.
And the packet capture?
Yeah, that's also available, because if you run the module Flowmon traffic recorder, you have access to the raw network data from the machine, so you can run the traffic recording as well here. And I would like to stress that this is actually available in Azure. We expect other vendors that this will be probably the trend, having these features. So we are in touch with the major vendors of public clouds to be able to adapt on these technologies in the future and to support them once they are launched. The other options is ERSPAN or GRE, which means it's like another L3 component in the network, which has mirroring capability on the 3rd layer, and it can provide you the traffic packed in the GRE tunnel, which is decapsulated on our side on the monitoring port.
Sorry, if I understand correctly, you're migrating to cloud, you're using the native infrastructure of the cloud, but you can also use third-party infrastructure appliances, right? And then some of these have the capability of creating the ERSPAN, which looks like port mirroring.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're talking about switch running in cloud with this.
Yeah, I will have a slide which explains more about this feature. So
should have paid more attention when going through the slides before the webinar.
Yeah. So, but in general, it brings some additional complexity. So we can say that if you already have this kind of devices in your cloud infrastructure, it's cool. You can use and you can take advantage of this feature. If not, it brings additional complexity, and I doubt that somebody will put this kind of devices into the infrastructure only for the traffic mirroring.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense. And the last option, how to get to the raw traffic, is the third-party vTab or third-party traffic mirroring, or how you want to call that. We can see different vendors offering this service. It's let's say it's based on the agents. So you need to always imagine a monitored server where you need to run virtual tab or some agent which provides the copy of the traffic to the target which you configure. So this is we have support for Ixia, Gigamon, Nubeva, Garland, and it works in different ways. And again, I will have some slides explaining more about this.
Great question. What would you choose?
Depends on my company and on my budget, I would say.
No, we don't want to hear this sort of answer.
No,
okay, so based on a budget. Based on a budget then.
Yeah, if I'm looking for some super light option, and probably I would go for some of the third-party vendors which can provide easily way, but they also differ in the complexity and pricing. So there is, for example, Nubeva is one of the new vendor offering this and scaling the price really low here. Mm-hmm. But we need to see it's even the Azure's native VTAP is only a few months in the market. They started with the beta program, which is available only in selected regions, and the initial pricing is set somewhere on $10 per monitored machine, and it's like a 50% discount because of the launch. Mm-hmm. So we can expect that having new vendors offering services, there will be push on the price, but still you need to consider how many machines you do have in your infrastructure. If you need to monitor 100 servers and you need to pay its subscription based on a monthly basis, so you need to wait, what is better for you. But right now for me, I would go for super cheap, super light option just for testing, because I'm not in the company where I need to have other services and reliability and the other stuff. So that's the answer.
Okay.
Okay. So let's take a look in the depth on the Azure's VTAP. So here you can see the collector deployed in the Azure environment, and on the left side we do have servers like monitored Azure instances, like servers running in the Azure environment. The green dots are the VTAPs. That means you need to run the VTAP on each of the virtual machine. Of course, you need to pay for that for them on monthly basis, and then you can get the copy of the raw traffic. The collector and the built-in probe in collector receives the raw traffic, creates the IPFix records, and stores it on the collector in long term, so you can use it for the analytics. And maybe just one technical note, that all the traffic sent from the VTAP is encapsulated in VXLAN tunnel. That means that you need to configure on Flowmon side that the traffic which is being received on the monitoring port needs to be decapsulated from the VXLAN. So that's it. So let's take a look. Or any questions here on Azure?
Specific for Azure, no.
Okay.
No.
So let's take a look deeply on the option of GRE and ERSPAN traffic mirroring. As we discussed before, it's some appliance which you already have in your cloud infrastructure, which provides this ERSPAN feature. You get the similar output as from the native VTAP. Let's say you just get the copy of the traffic, which is encapsulated in GRE tunnel, and you decapsulate it on the Flowmon side. Here is some list of platforms, cloud products which offer this feature: VMware, GSuite, Cisco, and there is plenty of different vendors offering this feature. But again, it's additional complexity, and I would consider this option only if I already have this appliance in the infrastructure. And let's see here how it works. So you just receive the raw traffic on the probe or built-in probe of collector. You can combine either from the virtual switch in the cloud, and we didn't much discuss yet that always you can combine the traffic from the cloud and the traffic from on-prem. So you can even combine that in cloud. You get raw traffic, you create your own IPFix by our Flowmon Pro, and you can still receive from the on-prem NetFlow 5, NetFlow 9, IPFix or whatever, and everything is combined in the collector and shows you your statistics, graphs, reporting. You can use it for troubleshooting and so on.
We have one question for this, and that's whether with the GRE ERSPAN, if there'll be any additional costs from the provider, from the cloud provider.
I don't think so.
Well, presumably,
one note that it is. I don't think that the option of the ERSPAN is available in Azure because of they do not support the GRE tunneling, or there is some issue with it. I can check on that later.
But in general, costs involve getting the license from Cisco for the router, right? Paying for the router to run in the cloud, paying for the traffic that it generates, sending anything through the ERSPAN, right?
Yeah, I don't think there is some specific cost for GRE, but still you need to consider the cost of the traffic because most of cloud providers, they have, like, if you are within the same data center of the cloud provider, or let's say region, within the one region, the traffic is for free, or in most cases. If you are in different regions, you need to pay money for each data transfer, or per data transfer between them.
Yeah. But so that means having Flowmon deployed in the same region to the switch where you collect the data, where the ERSPAN is running. But you don't have to necessarily pay anything, presumably extra, to the cloud provider.
Yeah, I don't expect any extra cost on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and let's take a look deeply on the third-party vendors where we support their VTAPs. Ixia, they have their CloudLens product, which is in fact based on Docker. So you need to put an agent in the Docker on the monitored side, and you need to pair it with the component running in the Docker on the Flowmon side. That means we have in our Flowmon, there is some component of Ixia CloudLens agent, which is you just need to run it after deployment of Flowmon. So you just need to run command to run this component, and you need to pair the monitored agent and the target.
To me, it sounds quite complicated. How hard is it? Is it just one command, as you said, or
it's a set of commands? It's not too complicated.
Okay.
I would say more complex. It is in the Gigamon part, where you need to run different instances of their products. There is Fabric Manager, vSeries controller, VTAP controller, vSeries node. This is like more complex product, and the complexity of settings is quite higher here. But the third vendor, Nubeva, is like super easy to configure. You just run agent on the monitored side, and you just set the target, which is like IP address of our monitoring port, of the monitoring port. That means the probe, and you then need to set the decapsulation. They offer both GRE and VXLAN encapsulation. So you just need the respective decapsulation on the probe side.
But in terms of deployment, it looks to me to be quite similar to what you have with VTAP in Azure.
Yeah. In this third case, definitely. And the only thing is that there is more complexity, because you have another vendor you need to pay, but of course, depends what is what is the price for the native option and for the third party. And especially there is one difference between the native VTAP and these third-party vendors, because if you use Ixia, Gigamon, Nubeva, you can use not only the simple mirroring, you can do filtering over the packet.
Right.
So you can set which kind of traffic should be mirrored, and this could be especially relevant in cases when you need to send the traffic from different regions. You need to pay extra money for the mirrored traffic. So once you are able to specify which traffic is being mirrored, it's like saving costs for you.
Right, but you still keep to monitor latencies and performance and bandwidth of the most critical applications, but not maybe all of the traffic, but what's relevant for you at that point of time or for whatever other reason.
Yeah. And let me just switch to completely another scenario. So far we discussed the option when we receive the raw traffic, but there are some different kind of monitoring options in the cloud, and it is kind of flow export from cloud platforms. So we can see in AWS and Azure as well that there is an option to receive FlowLogs from the monitored cloud servers, and these FlowLogs can be transferred to, let's say, NetFlow 5 or similar format on the collector side, and they appear as a standard flow.
So it is some sort of like log, but it's not NetFlow standard, and we translate it in Rostio. Like, do we collect it and translate it on the collector, or?
Well, this is in similar format, so we are able to capture it and basically get what we want. I'm not sure if it's really the same format as NetFlow, or it's just something similar.
It's I would say it's similar, but you can stay. You can create the 5 tuple.
The IP port protocol type of service.
Exactly, and there are also flags, so TCP flags, or here is information on this, that you can accept or reject flag in AWS FlowLogs, but in Microsoft Azure, their first version of the FlowLogs was not usable for us because there were missing timestamps and others. So we are not able to reconstruct the 5 tuple with timestamps, or not timestamps.
Counter show the graphs in time, or
I think it was not timestamps. It was counters of bytes and packets and so on. So that they were missing, and this is like mandatory field to be able to create graphs and so on. But the second version is improved, and we are now working on implementation to be able to provide it. So we are now ready for the Amazon, right? It's do you know the version when it will be released?
Yeah, this is something that we have already finished the development, and we are planning to release it in the upcoming Flowmon 10.2, which should be released sometime at the end of May this year. So yeah, this is something that we are able to support, and as you said, probably Microsoft Azure, which calls this functionality NSG FlowLogs, will be something that we will be looking as a next step.
So it seems to me to be the most natural and sort of easiest way how to get network traffic data from them, because you don't need like any third party.
But depends on the use case and on the level of visibility, because also our customers. We have customers which are happy with NetFlow 5 or NetFlow 9, but we have customers which require to have our probes and our IPFix because of NPM statistics, layer 7 visibility, and so on. So, and you miss all this information in the FlowLogs.
Right.
So
you only know the IP conversations and amounts of transfer data and times.
Yeah.
where when you get the VTAP Gigamonixia and get the raw traffic, you can calculate like host names and DNS requests and
you can do the full packet capturing with traffic recorder as well.
Right,
so
okay,
there are more use cases.
There is maybe one thing to add, that these FlowLogs will hopefully get improved over time, and they will be containing more and more information, more than they have now. So this is something that can be used in the future. So
yeah, and just to sum up the FlowLogs, as we discussed here, Amazon will be ready in the next release. The Azure FlowLogs are planned, and the Google Cloud is under the research, as we are not ready with the image for the Google Cloud, as we do not see so high demand yet for Google Cloud, but we are definitely in the research phase, so we will be able to provide this capabilities once we are in the Google Cloud as well.
Well, yeah, please go ahead.
Well, there is also a working workaround, right, for Google Cloud, so you can manually upload our existing image to Google Cloud. So if you want to try deploy it in Google Cloud, there is a way. It is not that straightforward, but there is.
And you can download it from the marketplace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they are compatible with some of the virtualization platform, or there's some import procedure, or
VHD, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And this last part is mine, just to wrap up what we mentioned here. I believe that from the talks that we have with analysts and with the clients, I can say that no vendor in the NPMD area has gone that far with cloud as we have. We are the early adopter for the Microsoft Azure VTAP, or VTAP is the name, right? And we're trying to pioneer whatever possible in the cloud, and we're trying to explore different ways how to support our customers in their journey to migrate to cloud. So presumably this is not the end, this is the beginning, and we'll be looking over the trends. These two experts will be looking over the trends and add new features in there, and you're all very welcome to leave us notes on what you believe is the way to move it forward. So to wrap up, we have Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. In terms of cloud delivery, we are available to download on the AWS and Azure, not for cloud, but there's a workaround to deploy a Flowmon in there. As for the cloud visibility, native VTAP is available in Microsoft Azure, because this is the only one that has released this feature so far. We'll see about what about the rest of the platforms, but we'll make sure to be there at the moment when they do. In terms of third-party cloud, Ixia, Gigamon, Nubiva, they all support different providers, so it is really not about our support, but about the support of those third-party applications. As for the FlowLogs, we are releasing in the version 10.2 of Flowmon in May this year support of Amazon FlowLogs, and we're planning the development for Azure and support for Azure as well. We haven't decided what to do with the cloud, because our clients don't have the demand just yet. And ERSPAN, again, this is the same as for the third party VTAP. It is about whether vendors of network components that support VTAP, that support ERSPAN, support also these public clouds, and they do in this case. Right. Our competitive advantage definitely lies in the fact that we have a single solution for performance monitoring as well as security, which is hard to do in clouds today. And from the single pane of glass, from single solution, you can do both of these things in heterogeneous environments that include hybrid, virtual, you named VMware, Hyper-V, KVM, also public, private clouds, and also on-premise as well. We, by that, bring together security and network operation teams. in cases when security operation teams gets an alert, there is an attack, they still need to notify networking people and ask them to do some remedial actions just to block an IP address. And having the shared data, shared sort of common language and understanding of the problems makes their collaboration and mean time to resolution much more effective. And we're being on the edge of cloud monitoring technologies. As mentioned, we are pioneering the area. We are the early adopters of different visibility technologies, both third-party and native. We're supporting the FlowLogs and exploring this further. And we will do all the research for you. So all you need to do is just to get Flowmon and wait for all the new features and new supported protocols to appear there. Right, and I believe this is all. We had a few more questions, but sometimes they were duplicate to the ones that we already answered, or we answered them before being able to respond to them. So thank you very much for every question that you sent through. Yeah, and thank you for the wishes. We have a comment. Thanks, guys. Nice webinar. So great to hear. We will send you recording of the webinar in a few days once we're done with the editing, and it'll also be available on YouTube. Stay tuned for future webinars. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.